Hello, world. Hello, world, and welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live from the Joy Virtual Studio right here in the beautiful Finger Lakes region of New York State. It is so good to be with all of you today. It is June 3rd, and we have a lot to talk about today on the Shannon Joy Show. You see the headline of today's show, Iowa shocker, the Trump primary machine defeated by a MAHA farmer. Out of nowhere, Zach Lahn. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later in the program today. But as you all know, Donald Trump has made it his mission over the past few weeks to establish full and total control and dominance over the Republican Party, even if he destroys it in the process. And this is as the 2026 primary season unfolds, and he seems to be unstoppable. We saw him take out Thomas Massie in the great state of Kentucky. He withdrew his support from Chip Roy, who lost his primary in the great state of Texas. And it seemed as if Donald Trump was just going to steamroll over every MAHA, America First, conservative candidate that tried to win a Republican primary. Well, all of that was in process until yesterday. And if you've been paying attention to the reporting by Daniel Horowitz over at the Conservative Review, then you know there were big things happening in the state of Iowa. Political newcomer and sixth-generational farmer Zach Lahn shocked the Trump-endorsed favorite Randy Feenstra, winning that GOP nomination for governor in a frankly stunning upset. It was so bizarre that Trump came in at the last minute to endorse Randy Feenstra when it looked as if he was losing control of that election. This guy, Zach Lahn, came out of nowhere with a whole lot of common sense, a whole lot of putting Iowans first over DC politics and billionaire backers and special interests. And he came in with a message that resonated for the people of Iowa. So as you guys know, Trump has declared himself king of the GOP and has gone as far as to assert that the MAGA movement is whatever he wants it to be, whatever he decides it's going to be, which is now very obviously and very disturbingly pro-war, pro-pedophile, pro-technofascism, pro-debt spending, pro-money printing and inflation, pro-medical fascism, and pro-Israel first, America last. That's MAGA, that's Trumpism, and that's now the GOP, as Donald Trump has become the bully on the playground. Now, it's interesting. We need to, in terms of Trump dominating the GOP, it's very clear that he has established himself as the king and the leader of the party. But, in terms of him dominating, it really is kind of a small ecosystem, especially with the Republican primaries. It's kind of like the kid who flunked fifth grade 3 times, dominating himself on the playground. These are closed primaries. It's Republican only. It's largely boomers and 65 plus that come out to vote. And so it's a small and narrow ecosystem that Donald Trump is dominating right now. And that is at the expense of the entire younger half of the party or even the movement. So everyone under the age of 65 is being completely alienated by this administration, the libertarians, the independents, the young people, young GOP voters, and especially Democrats, right? So this is a tiny little pond that Donald Trump is swimming in right now, and he's the big man on campus in that little pond. But we have the midterms looming, and it appears that he is just going scorched earth and really setting up the GOP for massive losses in the fall of 2026, if we even have an election at all. And you all know that I've been saying for quite some time, if you are not considering the prospect that Donald Trump and the Republican Party and the MAGA aligned commentators and influencers wouldn't, hesitate to declare an emergency, declare a war or some type of war on something to cancel midterm elections. I think that is an incredibly viable situation. And if you're not prepared for that, then, well, I think you're just a little bit naive. We're going to have to wait and see what plays out. But what happened in Iowa should give everyone hope. This is the culture. These are regular people having regular conversations with a regular person, a sixth generation Iowan farmer who's never run before, had a very lean campaign, and just used plain talk with the people of Iowa and a killer platform. And we're going to look at that platform. I really want to pay attention to what Zach Lahn ran on, because that platform is the platform of the future. When the economy collapses, when our political systems collapse, when we move towards dystopia, perhaps without elections or the electoral process in the next 3 to 5 to 6 years, right? We're going to need to find each other. We're going to have to organize locally and find each other locally. And this is what we saw happen in Iowa. It's a great story. And we're going to hit that a little bit later in the Shannon Joy Show. Of course, it is June 3rd. It's Wednesday, the epicenter of yet another very busy broadcast week. Of course, we are broadcasting live on Rumble. We're live on Twitter. We're live on Spreely TV, Roku TV, and Apple TV. Garth Hilton, Lahn is pronounced Lane. Well, Garth, thank you so much. This guy is such an unknown. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. So I apologize to Zach Lahn. By the way, Garth Hilton, thank you for helping to arrange an interview with Zach Lahn on the Shannon Joy Show. I would love to have him in next week on the Shannon Joy Show. Ainsley Brown will be joining us next week on the SJ Show as well. And yes, I'm working on Daniel Horowitz. He could not make it this week. Daniel has a ton going on with this election and that analysis, and we just couldn't make it work this week. Sasha Latipova was supposed to be on this week as well, but she had some type of emergency at her house and construction is going on and she doesn't have a quiet place to sit down and do an interview. So we're going to move Sasha to next week as well. We had a big lineup of guests, but it's just me and you, mano y mano. Doesn't matter. We have a lot to get to today in the program. But we're going to look at the Zach Lahn platform. And I have it here in detail because this is what we need to go for. These are the principles, the ideas, the positions, the common sense solutions that we are always denied by the two-party political system, Democrats and Republicans. Every time we elect them into office, they promise to change things systematically. They promise to solve problems, and they only line their own pockets. They only consolidate their own power, and they continue to work together as fake opposition to continue to fleece and plunder and abuse the American people. So this is exciting, and we want to see what happens in Iowa happen in states across the country. This is the one bright light. It is proof that the Donald Trump machine, the AIPAC machine, the billionaire backers, and the institutional political system can be defeated. And that should give us all a lot of hope. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the program. But we're, in this first and second segment, we have a lot of other stuff to talk about as well. I do want to say hello to all of you, those of you who are watching on YouTube and Substack. So glad that you guys are with us today. We're growing by leaps and bounds on those platforms. And of course, we have a huge following on Twitter as well. But I do want to say hello to everyone in the Rumble live chat. So Mama C 1996 says, hello world. She's the very first chatter of the day. Great to see you, Mama C. So glad you are on the live chat. Ollie Robin 9 is with us. CJP Rumble, Garth Hilton joins us today. We have a couple new faces. I love to see them here on the live chat as well. Gaelic Monkey is with us. Dino Fun joins us today. Futurez is here. And yeah, you guys look great. Hey, Mr. Worthless Eater. Yes, great comment. Mr. Worthless Eater with the first comment of the day. I'd be shocked if Team Trump didn't try to cancel the 2028 selections. Sooner or later, they're going to have to go full takeover or they'll have to face the blowback, and they don't want that. No, sir. I'm concerned about the midterms, right? I wouldn't be surprised if they do something with the midterms as well. Buskman, thank you, Shannon, for rating the Buskman report while I was in Vegas. Appreciate you, Buskman. Glad you're here. And Ollie Robin 9, thank you for those kind words. Fabulous. You look fabulous. I so appreciate you. What else do we have here on the live chat? Yes, a birthday is coming up. My 49th birthday is coming up on June 15th of 2026. So we are just 12 days away from the last the last year before 50, which is, crazy. I cannot believe I'm going to be 50. Insane. Absolutely insane. Ollie Robin 9, it's good, clean living. That's what it is. Today, I have a lot of videos for you. I have an 11-minute banger that we're going to run in just about, 5-10 minutes. And this is continuing on a theme that we've been hitting here on the SJ show for the last couple weeks. And we're really dialing in on the insider trading, the pump and dumps, the grifting, and the plunder that is happening not only by the Trump family and Trump associates, but the big tech bros who purchased Donald Trump and installed him into the presidency in 2025 so that he would do what they wanted him to do. And it appears that we are getting closer and closer to one of the biggest, most blatant, prolonged pump and dumps I've ever witnessed in my life. And this is the AI bubble. Now, there was a tweet that I pushed out a couple days ago from Lit Capital that marveled at what was happening right now in, amidst some of the magnificent seven. I would call them the sinister seven, because these are the major tech companies that are engaging in circular investing to pump up their profits or make it appear that they're profitable when most of them, 6 out of the 7, are making no money. They've been posting losses. It's crazy. And so recently, we have seen moves from Google, SpaceX, Anthropic, and OpenAI to raise a ton of money to increase their valuations so that they can go public. And SpaceX is about to go public. They shouldn't, because they don't make any money. But Elon Musk, again, because he purchased, along with his other tech bros, Donald Trump and installed him into the presidency, now has a lot of, they're just through the big, beautiful bill and executive orders and executive memorandums and actions of this president, they've loosened the guardrails in terms of what these guys can do, the money that they can hide, or the reporting that they can hide. It's crazy. It's crazy. So, Buskman, you keep putting that, everyone can hear me, Buskman. I think it's you. Is my mic off? Interesting. It doesn't say that my mic is off. Guitar Lily, Shannon, your mic is off. You're on the computer mic. It doesn't say that. Right now it says I'm on the USB advanced. Let's try it. How does that sound, everyone? Why don't we go to a quick break? Okay, so you guys can hear me, but I'm on the computer mic. Why don't we take a quick break? Or why don't we do this? This is what we're gonna do. We are going to run this. Well, no, we're gonna go to a quick break, and then when we come back, I'll continue. Okay, it's what is it now? Internal microphone? Yeah, I think that this mic turned off and the internal mic picked up. Well, what are we going to do? Let's go to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we will address that. Keep it tuned right here. We'll be back in a minute on the Shannon Joy Show. Dr. Kelly Victory is actually battling breast cancer right now, which is absolutely tragic, but it is her story, and she's going to tell her story in just a couple weeks. And she's one of the people that you would never, ever, ever see it coming. She did everything right, right? She exercised, she ate very clean, she avoided processed foods, she had zero symptoms when she went in for a routine mammogram in 2023. And she walked out of that mammogram with a diagnosis of aggressive cancer that could have been fatal, actually, if it was found later. So it revealed a hard truth for Kelly. Even healthy people get cancer. And it exposed a much bigger issue. Most modern medicine is reactive and not preventative. You wait for a scare until you start to care. And every day, our bodies, as you all know, are under constant pressure from vaccines, as we know, stress, toxins, inflammation, and immune strain. The damage builds quietly over time, year after year, until disease starts to form. So we've talked about all types of ways to treat and prevent cancers. We've talked about ivermectin. We've talked about fasting. We've talked about, as you know, avoiding vaccines. That's one of my main preventative measures when it comes to cancers. But Dr. Kelly Victory asks a different question. What can we do to daily support, or what can we do daily to support the body before something goes wrong? Now, this led her to formulate a product called Shield. So Shield is a two-part natural system. It's designed to support immune balance, antioxidant defense, and cellular health. Exactly the systems that you want to keep very strong to live a long, healthy life. In the morning, you drink a high-dose nutraceutical cocoa mix. Then with food, you take the soft gels. With ingredients like medicinal mushrooms, turmeric, green tea, olive leaf, berberine, and black cumin seed oil, Shield gives your body the tools it needs to keep your cells healthy. So right now, for the Joy audience, if you go to twc.health/joy, that's twc.health/joy, and use the promo code JOY, you'll get 10% off plus free shipping on all orders for U.S. residents. That's twc.health/joy, and make sure you use the promo code JOY to get 10% off plus free shipping. And by the way, you can use the promo code JOY for all of your purchases at twc.health/joy. They always have a discount for the Joy audience, and we are so thankful for their sponsorship. All right, welcome back, everyone. I think the audio situation is on point. We are back. And the topic in this segment is, what are those big tech bros up to? Why are they building those bunkers? Well, I think it might be because they are about to commit one of the biggest rug pulls, pump and dumps we have ever seen. Something that would make the 2008 financial collapse blush in terms of this long, prolonged hyping of AI when there's no there, and massive valuation. They're out there trying to raise an enormous amount of money. This is not a good thing. Some people think that this is a good thing, but this analyst, Lit Capital, thinks it's a sign that they are about to exit. And when they pull that rug, it's going to be United States pensioners and retirees that are going to be left holding, those worthless stocks. So this is not good. And I want to set up this discussion. I want to run a really enlightening interview with a financial analyst named Ed Zitron. He's out of the UK. He has no vested interest. He's not shorting anyone or actively trading. He's just helping people understand what is really going on. And he's also a tech journalist. He's one of the loudest, most consistent critics of the current AI hype, and is warning of the incoming rug pull, which is going to be just insane. So let's take a look at what he had to say. This is a very important video. Listen up. When we come back, I'm going to get your comments, your questions, and we're going to discuss what we think is going on. What they're doing is criminal. It's going to be blatant. And this is probably why they all have bunkers right now. It's probably why they're all fleeing to foreign countries. Because when the American people and American retirees realize what they are doing right now, the S is going to hit the fan. But this is what Ed Zitron had to say. And keep an eye on how these Bloomberg journalists are just kind of flabbergasted by everything he has to say, because the hype has been so insane, right? We've seen this over the past 2, 3, 4 years. Elon Musk, all of the tech bros, everyone telling you that AI is the next big thing. AI is going to take everyone's job. AI is going to reduce the workforce. AI is going to become sentient and more intelligent than humans themselves. That everything is going that direction. And it turns out there's nothing there. There's nothing there. There's no profit. There's no money. It's too expensive. AI is way more expensive than the humans that they all told you AI was going to replace. There's no return on investment. It is all a bubble, all of it. Every one of the Magnificent Seven. And they know that you're about to know that. That's why they're seeking these high valuations. That's why they want to go public, because once they go public, then the fund manager for pensions and 401ks, they have to buy them because they're on the index. So you have to buy their stocks. Meanwhile, they're going to be exiting their own stocks. They're going to be cashing out. It's exit liquidity. It's financial, fancy financial speak for an easy way for early investors, founders, or insiders to cash out on massive profits. New buyers pour in, that's you, through your retirement account, 401k, or pension, right? And the old owners sell at sky high prices and walk away completely rich. And they're going to do that to all of us. And it's why they're fleeing to their bunkers. It's why they're fleeing to foreign countries, because they know what's coming, because they're doing it purposefully. So that's the layman's explanation of what's going on. Here is a much more articulate explanation of what is happening here. Listen up, and you know what? You might want to get on the horn with your 401k, your financial advisor, your financial planner, and at least if it were me, I'd be asking them about how heavily you're invested in any of these Magnificent Seven companies, because I think this is imminent. Take a look at what he has to say. This is Ed Zitron, by the way. Here we go.
What are we getting? I don't want to say we. What are the bulls out there getting wrong about AI? Because you've made no secret that you don't see any there.
Yeah. So I think people are conflating a semiconductor rally with an underlying successful business, which doesn't really exist. Anthropic's current revenue growth, which is deeply questionable, and the fact that they leaked profitability, manipulated by Elon Musk, of course. Their growth is coming because people cannot measure how much an AI task actually costs. And a couple months ago, Anthropic started charging their enterprise customers the actual token rates. What this has led to is suddenly businesses are going, oh, how much money are we spending? I think it was Uber's COO, Andrew McDonald, said that they're having trouble justifying the AI spend based on the actual return, that one can actually measure it. So you've got a thing where you can't measure the costs and you can't measure the return on investment. What do you call that? You call it a thing without an ROI.
Isn't it, though, safe to say, Ed, I think about this, I agree, that there is going to be, when there's any new technology, there's a lot of money thrown at something, right? A hot new idea, whatever it is. And that ultimately, we've talked with some experts in the AI world, they're saying, all of these large language models, not everything's going to exist, because right now it doesn't cost you anything to use it. But at some point there will be a cost, and people will start to select what they want to play with. And so is it a case of right now, at some point there will be some winners, some losers, and we'll see some things filter their way out, and that there will be some return on investment for some of the larger players when it comes to AI? Do you not see some winners and losers in this, or some winners in this?
I think the winner is Jensen Huang, and the winner is the construction firms who have got prepaid for all the data center construction. Maybe Sam Altman and Dario Amodei have become billionaires through this. But when it comes to the actual businesses, you can't find anyone who can measure the ROI because you can't do it. So when it comes down to the model companies themselves, they're all horrifyingly unprofitable. I think OpenAI lost $20-something billion last year. Anthropic's probably not far behind this.
And we don't have access to their books.
Of course. But this is based on
file for an IPO.
And that's the thing. When we see these S1s, I think it's going to be kind of a massacre, because I think that people have this view that these companies are becoming more profitable or even have a path to profitability, and they don't have one.
But somebody could say, and Carol, we talk about this all the the time. Amazon for years didn't really have profits.
Well, that's
and
the thing.
Now
though.
it's a behemoth, and now it's a then AWS came along, and now it's this juggernaut that has made a lot of people very wealthy.
But the thing with Amazon is between 2003 and 2017, Amazon Web Services, actually all Amazon capex, was around $57 billion normalized for inflation.
Between that whole time,
in that entire time, and they were cash flow positive in 9. The classic thing with the dot-com reconciliation thing is, well, things went poorly, but after that there was useful infrastructure. No such story exists here. GPUs, AI GPUs specifically, have very few other use cases. And on top of that, if you're talking about incomplete data centers, it's going to cost just as much money to finish them today as it will in 10 years. And similarly, a Blackwell, a B200, GB200 rack, NVL72 rack, for example, will cost just as much, if not more, in electricity 10 years from now. There is no pick up and fix this story. Perhaps there'll be some on-device large language model use, but we are talking an industry that has absorbed over $1 trillion in the last 3 years. The media attention from everyone and these continual stories about the magic of AI. But when you say, hey, is it making any money? They go, oh, no. Oh, we couldn't possibly. We don't do that yet. But don't worry, Uber lost a lot of money. Uber burned about $32 billion, which is less than half of what Anthropic has raised in the last 6 months.
So I think it's safe to say there's a lot of smart investors who are in this, smart companies who are in it, right? Pick your big hyperscaler. They obviously want to be around for a long time. So I'm just like, how do you explain their bets on all of this?
So I have this theory called the .com bubble, which is the hyperscalers are out of hypergrowth ideas. We haven't had a new iPhone. We haven't had a new cloud computing. We haven't really had a new platform that would turn into the next the next Google search or Amazon Web Services. So they thought that large language models were going to be the panacea, that they were going to be creators of API growth, that they were going to be the new infrastructure play, load up the GPUs, sell access to everyone. The problem is no one checked to make sure any of this was profitable. And we still don't know if GPU compute is actually margin positive, which is crazy considering the amount of money going into it. And when we look at the companies that actually are selling it, CoreWeave, for example, they burn billions of dollars, 20-something billion dollars worth of capex this year, about the same amount in debt, and their customers are NVIDIA, OpenAI through Google, OpenAI through Microsoft, and Meta, who does not have an AI strategy. It's very strange, like that Twilight Zone episode with the scary child. Like, we're all trying to pretend that Meta actually has a plan here. They don't have one.
So is Apple kind of smart? Because we've talked with our Mark Gurman about this. Have they kind of been relying on Google, right, and Gemini, and not necessarily doing that big spend?
And they're not doing any capex on.
No, exactly.
Well, I think what happened with Apple is they released Apple Intelligence, which may be the largest scale anti-tech radicalization in history. My non-tech friends, I've heard nothing about AI from them. Moment Apple Intelligence comes out, they're like, this is the worst thing I've ever used. And I think that made Apple go, maybe not. Maybe we should take a step back. But their capex is minimal. They're spending about as much in capex, ironically, as Amazon was spending on AWS way back when. So I think Apple is cautiously holding back and kind of absorbing the headline after headline, the ridiculous headline of Apple's behind in AI. Behind in a losing proposition, more like.
We're speaking with Ed Zitron. He's the founder and CEO of Easy Primary Research. He's got the Better Offline podcast. He writes the Where's Your Ed newsletter. Ed, just so everybody's aware, do you have skin in the game? Are you shorting any of these companies? Do you have a financial interest in what you're talking about?
I invest in words. I love doing the newsletter I do. I think I'm spreading a great deal of financial literacy and of how to pull apart the narratives of these companies. But no, I don't, because the market is irrational. And the market is inherently invested in something that I think is destructive, especially the SpaceX IPO. And OpenAI and Anthropic should not be allowed to go public. They are dangerous, lossy companies that are going to be added to indices that will sink 401ks.
You know, it's interesting that you say this because I got a text from
That's the big one.
Today,
That's the big one
from a friend of mine who's like not happy about the idea that he's, as an index fund investor, he's going to be forced to have to buy SpaceX, for example, which is the sort of the subject of yesterday's big take. Everybody should check it out on the Bloomberg terminal.
Forced to buy.
There's a lot we want to get to with you. We only have a couple more minutes. You got to come back and do some more with us. Before you go, what happens If markets, you said markets are irrational right now. If markets become efficient, and I think a lot of people think markets are efficient. If markets view this the way that you're viewing this, what are the repercussions of that bubble bursting?
I think the majority of gains based on AI success are going away. I think the neoclouds like Iron, CoreWeave, Cypher Mining, and the TerraWolf as well, all of them, perhaps not going to zero, but they're going to be shells of the corporations they used to be. I actually don't know how CoreWeave survives this. I think NVIDIA is looking for the most aggressive haircut you've ever seen, for example, because they currently are not, based on research I've done, it looks like it's taking about 6 to 12 months to install a single quarter's worth of GPUs from NVIDIA. They've yet to put out any kind of guidance about this. They clearly know. But if you go and look at Microsoft, for example, none of the data centers that they have announced have broken ground since 2023 have actually been finished. The Fairwater data centers, they've said that was fully complete. It's not even half complete. It's one of the strangest things I've seen in history. And I think what it is that these companies know that they can get away with it. They know that the SEC scrutiny isn't there. And they also know that the froth is big enough that everyone kind of loses together. It all comes out in the wash when it's proven that there is not a there.
Do you get calls from these companies?
No, I don't hear back from Microsoft or OpenAI or any of them.
But you reach out?
I do. I asked for comment and I guess my email gets lost. Sam Altman, Dario Amodei, there's PR people have mentioned coming on my show, but then they go quiet, probably because I'm quite critical of them. They know I'd ask the questions they don't want to answer.
Why do you think, I want to poke at something that you mentioned earlier, why do you think OpenAI and Anthropic shouldn't be allowed to go public?
Because they are lossy companies. They do not have a path to profitability. Anthropic, they leaked or however that they were profitable. They were profitable in 2 months when Elon Musk, they gave them a discount on their compute through SpaceX. Clearly planned leaks, clearly planned financial engineering. No normal profitable company does things like this. OpenAI and Anthropic are both horribly unprofitable and they are not getting better. They have the information reported a few weeks ago, OpenAI had a negative 122% non-GAAP operating margin in the last quarter.
But again, just because a company doesn't make money doesn't mean it shouldn't go public. Just because a company is not profitable doesn't mean it shouldn't go public.
Let me reframe this then. I don't think these companies will survive.
Okay.
And I think that investors they're doing exit liquidity for venture capital. Yep. And I think that these are dangerous, unstable companies that have faced basically no real scrutiny for most of the years of their investment. You have journalists and analysts who are actively cheering them on. This is a dangerous precedent, and it's a dangerous thing for retail investors who are being conned by this. And I mean, the whole ROI conversation, that is a result of most people experiencing AI via subscriptions that are subsidized, meaning you can burn anywhere from $3 to $13.50 for every dollar of your subscription. So people don't know how much this stuff actually costs, and they are investing and believing in it and creating workflows around it based on services they likely cannot afford long term.
Just got 20 seconds here. So we have a story. Uber has set usage caps on some AI-powered tools used by its staff to manage costs after blowing through its AI budget earlier this year. We're going to increasingly see these stories, in your view?
Yes, we will. And we've already heard a similar story coming out of Walmart. I think Bloomberg reported yesterday.
Yes, I will absolutely link this interview into the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. This was one of the best discussions that I have seen. Clear, concise, 11 minutes, Ed Zitron laying bare what is going down with the Magnificent Seven, the pump and dump that is coming. He said, exit liquidity for venture capital. That means that the guys are going to get out, right? So all of the founders, owners, early investors are going to take all of their profits. They're going to get out early. They're going to become billionaires or trillionaires in the case of Elon Musk, because he's going to bring SpaceX to the public, an initial public offering. And when that happens, fund managers are going to be forced to buy the stock because it's going to be part of the index. When that happens, they're exiting and they're going to dump all of these worthless stocks, companies that do not have an ROI. There's no there. There's nothing there. Those are going to be dumped on the backs of pensioners, 401k holders, retirees, and people with savings accounts. It's insane. And it's going to happen likely, I would say, in the next few months, the next 6 to 12 months, again, everyone's wondering why these tech bros are buying bunkers and fleeing the United States of America, because they know exactly what they're doing. Exit liquidity for venture capital. This means that they are going to cash out on their massive products and dump everything on all of you. Interesting conversation. Ed Zitron said he had a conversation with a fund manager. So this is a guy who manages maybe hundreds of millions of dollars of retirement accounts for retirees or pensioners or holders of a 401k. And he says, I'm pissed off. I'm really pissed off because I'm going to be forced now to buy SpaceX, OpenAI, and Anthropic because they're going to go public. They're going to have the initial public offering. And because they're part of the index now, because they've gone public, I have to buy their stock, meaning you have to buy their stock after they've already exited. This is insane. Mrs. Lovely, thank you so much. Shannon, that interview was insane. Your reporting is priceless. Mrs. Lovely, thank you so much. There are not enough people talking about this. Tiffany Cianci was on with me last week. We began to dive into this a little bit. There's nothing there. Uber, the CEO of Uber, deployed AI for all of their operations and suspended it within a few months because it was costing so much money. It wasn't increasing productivity in any way, shape, or form. And it was doing half of what the humans could do. That's the scam. There was never anything there, ever. And we've been telling you this. I mean, guys, I've been telling you this on this show for 2 years. When everybody was saying that AI was going to take everyone's job, it was going to save the tech industry. He also mentioned something that I thought was brilliant called the rot-com bubble, meaning that there's nothing else. There's nowhere for them to go. They haven't been able to level up in terms of the technology in many years. And so they invented something that was completely fake, that made no money, that contributed and created a bunch of slop on the internet. It didn't help with workflows. It didn't increase efficiencies. It didn't make any of these companies money. In fact, MIT ran a study, and I don't have that at my fingertips here, but MIT ran a study and found that 95% of companies who were deploying or using AI models weren't having any efficiencies. They weren't realizing any type of return on investment or any type of efficiency. So all of this, it gets worse, but wait, there's more. So all of this has been used to justify, right? They've been telling us AI is the wave of the future. AI is going to take all of your jobs. AI is going to run the government. AI is going to run your physician, and it's going to take the place of your doctor, your lawyer, your accountant, your insurance agent. The robots are going to take the place of everything else, right? This is what Elon and all of the tech bros have been pimping relentlessly for 3 years. And they've had willing audiences and propagandists in left-wing news media, right-wing news media, all through business media, right? They've just been repeating the narrative. They've had the president of the United States of America, promoting their businesses, promoting all of this, and also extending to them liability protections for the arms race with China over AI. So they've had the full weight of all of the institutions, all of the media, the presidency of the United States of America. They've had full reign over all of this. And so they're using this lie about AI and the robots taking over everything to justify the largest illegal, unconstitutional land grab we have ever seen in the United States of America with these AI data centers, which will never be built. It's not about the data centers. It's not about compute. It's not about AI. It's about the land. It's the physical land. It's the physical commodities, gold and silver. They know that everything that they're talking about is bullshit. They know that what matters is what you can physically hold on to. And that's why they're going after the land. They're using this entire charade in order to justify through eminent domain and government subsidies the seizure of hundreds of millions of acres of land. And it's all over the country. That's what's going on with the data centers. Daniel Horowitz has begun to uncover this. But this is the model. And they're about, I feel terribly. I feel terribly for these retirees who believe that their pensions and their 401k and their retirement accounts are going, couple that, are going to, pay for their living expenses for the rest of their life. You couple that with skyrocketing inflation that is coming because Donald Trump and the Republicans have made it very clear, especially in the taking out of Chip Roy and Tom Massey, who were maybe the only two fiscal hawks left in Washington, D.C. They took them out. It's clear that the money printer is going to ramp up. We can see inflation skyrocket in the next 6 months. And then you couple on that an energy crisis, the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. It is everything but the kitchen sink now aligning up against the average American, the average American small business, our retirees, our veterans. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's all coming together for me. We've been talking about all of these things, not in context of one another, but, in isolation. And that interview, at least for me, helped to put all of those pieces together. And I don't think I'm going to be wrong on this. I hope that I'm wrong on this. I hope that it's not going to be as bad as some people are predicting, but it's going to be bad. And, Donald Trump and his family, they're grifting all the way down. Yesterday, I talked about a piece by David Leitch, the strident conservative. Trump is using defense spending to line the pockets of his family business. It's blatant, it's brazen, and they're doing it in plain sight. So they're not really hiding what they're doing. And this is going, as everything falls apart for all of us, we're going to watch these politically connected entities and the family members of Donald Trump likely become billionaires 5, 6, 7 times over. Elon Musk will be a trillionaire, not because he's a good business person, but because he purchased a president and was fed trillions of dollars worth of valuable information on the American people and the American government when he went in under the guise of Doge and sucked up, hoovered up, vacuumed up trillions of dollars of our personal information. And now we have news of the bunker being built underneath the ballroom, which is actually a massive data center, a command center. And there are now rumors of them. They are building a parallel government system run by the technocrats. Crazy. No one in conservative media is talking about this. None of my colleagues are talking about this to this extent. Tucker Carlson has done a little bit. Megyn Kelly, by the way, I liked her yesterday. I don't like her today because she's now pimping on that same interview that I ran for you. I'm going to pull this up. The same interview that I ran for you. She did an interview with Sean Kelly, who is this like ex-military CIA guy who I don't even know where he came from. I never even heard of him. But he gets all these big guests and he has like this huge platform now that he's probably been given. But anyway, he has Megyn Kelly on. And, yesterday I played a couple clips of Megyn Kelly because finally she's off the Trump train again. She was off the Trump train in 2015. And then, she joined it in 2024. And now after a year and a half of everything I predicted, everything I told you was going to happen, the rug pull after rug pull after rug pull, every broken promise you can imagine from Donald Trump. Well, finally, Megyn Kelly is off the Trump train. So we played a couple clips for you yesterday, and I said, well, I don't know what's driving her, but I'm really glad that she's kind of in a truth space right now. Well, it turns out, and I didn't see this clip, but it turns out that she is off the Trump train only to get on the J.D. Vance train. And so now that she doesn't like Trump anymore, she's behind J.D. Vance, who is the arch techno-fascist. Talk about a plant and an owned and paid for puppet of Peter Thiel and Palantir. That's JD Vance. This is what she had to say about JD Vance. And this is why I'm calling shenanigans on Megyn Kelly, because I thought she was in a truth space, but now it looks as if she's just pimping another psyop in this two-party electoral fraud. But here's what she had to say.
I like JD.
Okay.
Like JD.
Yeah, I don't think JD's in favor of this war.
What?
He's got to keep his mouth shut about it because he works for Trump. That's the deal when you're the VP. He accepted the job, so he's doing the job nobly. It's not noble to run around being like, my boss sucks, I'm against the war. I was the one person who stood against it. Make sure that's printed. He's really not doing that. He's standing for Trump. He's trying to find the right messaging around it. Like, it's not a great idea, but if we do it, this is how I guess we should do it. Like, you're the boss. You're the one they elected as president, not me. And so you're asking me what my thoughts are. He's on the record, according to the New York Times, as having said, I don't think we should do this. But if you're going to do it, this is what I think we should do. I think that's honorable. And I think J.D. Vance is definitely non-interventionalist. That's what the neocons hate about him. That's one of the main reasons they go after Tucker so hard. Is because they see him as a surrogate for J.D. and they need J.D. to be hobbled. But I think...
Yeah, so I think that Megyn Kelly is a surrogate for JD. And if she is a surrogate, meaning being paid to promote, if she is a surrogate, she should disclose that to her audience. And Sean Ryan interview with Megyn Kelly. And so, they want to keep us in this, two-party political paradigm. And so she abandons Donald Trump, but then goes right to J.D. Vance, who is just as bad, if not worse. But it does indicate that moves are coming, that they are going to exit, potentially somehow stage left Donald Trump and replace him with J.D. Vance. Maybe that's through impeachment after the midterms, or maybe we don't have midterms at all. Donald Trump tries to be a dictator and cancel them and something else happens. Who knows? Who knows what could happen? But things are changing. And Gaelic monkey, Megyn Kelly is a fraud. She speaks out of two sides of her mouth. Like she's, it's just crazy. It's crazy. I don't know what drives these people, but I do think that some of them are taking money on the DL in order to promote political ideas, political entities, and politicians in general. So, CJP Rumble, what has JD Vance ever governed besides an IPO? Yeah, JD Vance is the hand-picked poster child for global technofascism. He was groomed and created by Peter Thiel, the CEO of Palantir. He was given $15 million to steal an election in the state of Ohio, which made him senator, a United States senator. And then he was pitched to Donald Trump, essentially, Donald, you take JD Vance, who is our techno bro guy. He's run by the technocrats. You take him as your running mate, and we will purchase the election for you. We will dump all of our money into your election, and we'll push you over the finish line in November of 2024. And that's what happened. We saw it in real time. I told you all in the summer of 2024, it's very clear that the tech oligarchs, the techno-fascists, the tech bros had purchased Donald. They picked Donald Trump. They purchased his campaign. That's why JD Vance is in the mix. And so he would be a natural. They would love to exit Donald Trump and bring in JD Vance. And so that's what I see Megyn Kelly doing here. They're going to try to move us to JD Vance. Well, we got betrayed by Donald Trump. And so now let's trust Megyn Kelly's pick again, right? Because she did such a good job the first time with Donald Trump. She was dead wrong on her endorsement of Donald Trump. I was dead right on my refusal to endorse Donald Trump because I knew exactly what he was going to do. And everything I told you he was going to do, he has done, right? So now let's trust Megyn Kelly to give us a recommendation on, who the next president is. I like JD. No, I don't think so. And, but the Trump family, this is crazy. Using that defense budget, $1.5 billion budget for the defense budget for the Department of Defense, 50% increase, by the way. And in this piece that is linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show, David Leach, the strident conservative, explains in great detail how they are literally using these budgets to line their pockets. He's using the power of the presidency for his personal benefit, writes David Leach, to transfer massive amounts of wealth from the struggling and working middle class to himself, his family, and small circle of well-connected Beltway elites. By mingling private companies with government for this purpose, aka fascism. So the commingling of big government with big corporation is called fascism. It's literally the definition of fascism. So by mingling private companies with government, he writes, an arrangement that fascist dictator Benito Mussolini called corporatism, Trump is lining the pockets of his family business while leading America down a road to fascism and the end of liberty. He gives a couple of examples here. Trump and Dell. The Department of Defense announced a 5-year, roughly $9.7 billion deal with Dell to provide a suite of software to the U.S. military. Donald Trump has been very, very complimentary of Michael Dell and his company. At a Mother's Day event, he told everyone to go out and buy a Dell after lauding the Dell family for its donation to Trump accounts. So the Dells gave Donald money, or Donald used the bully pulpit and the White House and the office of the presidency to promote Dell products, which is a complete conflict of interest. And then Dell returned the favor. He also joined Trump's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology and, essentially promoted this company, handed them sweetheart deals, government subsidies, government contracts. And so this is how it paid out for Donald Trump. Prior to his go out and buy a Dell proclamation, Donald Trump purchased between $1 million and $5 million in Dell stock on February 10th, according to financial disclosure forms, when the stock was trading for $126 per share. The stock soared to $260 following Trump's Mother's Day declaration and has gone as high as $318 since that Pentagon contract was announced. That means so far, Trump has unrealized gains of between 1.55 million and 7.74 million from his Dell stock. But that is chicken feed compared to the hundreds of millions of dollars that he has secured for Don Jr. and another Defense Department partnership that was written about with Vulcan Elements. And I'm not going to go into that story. He gave 3 or 4 examples of how the Trumps are making it rain for themselves, abusing the office of the presidency, abusing their power to fleece the American people and enrich themselves and their cronies. No one on the right has any interest in any of this. It's crazy, and by the way, Glenn Greenwald, I'm going to play this clip for you before we go to break, because this is my good friend, Bobby Sauce. And I don't know if you guys have know Bobby Sauce or follow him on Twitter or Instagram, but he's absolutely hilarious. And I actually have 2 videos for you from him today. One is regarding the Trump family corruption, and another is involving, Con Inc., specifically Dinesh D'Souza. And maybe I'll play that later, but I want to play this one on the Trump family corruption because Glenn Greenwald, see, this is what's so crazy. Glenn Greenwald went up against, I think it was 20 MAGA, very young MAGA proponents. And it was a debate style situation. It was televised. It was really interesting. I watched a little bit of it. But it was Glenn Greenwald versus Trump cultists. And you could tell that these people had never heard this critique. They never heard, they would, scream and yell about the Biden administration and the corruption, Hunter Biden's corruption, pay to play, sweetheart deals, all the same things, money for access, right? At least the Bidens did it in secret. Hunter Biden went to Ukraine and hid it. What we're seeing from the Trumps is in plain sight. They have no idea because Fox News and Con Inc. in the influencer class is where they're getting all their information. And social media is filtering information. So they have no idea what this president is doing and what the family is doing. And so this, I think this is the first time I'm going to play a Bobby Sauce video. You guys are going to love him. You're going to love him. But he exposes the Trump family corruption through Glenn Greenwald in an absolute banger of a debate session. This was really interesting. Let's take a look.
You gotta watch Glenn Greenwald on Jubilee Media Surrounded against 20 MAGA supporters, but this clip cooks.
Serious question. Just imagine a president, a Democratic president that's not Donald Trump. 4 days before they're inaugurated as president, they create a new company, and into that company flows hundreds of billions of dollars or billions of dollars from the very countries that'll be most affected by that president's foreign policy. That wouldn't concern you at all? You don't think there's anything disconcerting about that?
There could be a suspicion, but I'm not going to make a claim that he's corrupt, and that's the claim that you're making right now.
For clarity, Glenn's claim is that the Trump admin is more corrupt than the Biden admin because of the volume and the quantity of financial amounts that he's enriched his family with.
Because everything that Trump has done since then has benefited those very countries that enriched his family so greatly with billions of dollars in personal wealth to his family. And not only that, but the Saudi investment in Jared Kushner's fund, the Saudi.
If you complained about Hunter Biden enriching himself to millions of dollars because of daddy's power, but you're ignoring the Trump family making billions, you're a hypocrite.
But the Iran war negatively affects the UAE, right? And Donald Trump somewhat
the
caused the
UAE
Iran
is
war.
thrilled with the Iran war. As people said
really?
earlier,
they're having shit fall on their cities.
The UAE
they're having shrapnel fall on their
The UAE
Dubai?
hates Iran. They're encouraging Iran. They're encouraging Trump to continue. They want regime change. They despise Iran. So do the Saudis. This war is done. Trump would never have done this war without those very countries with whom he's closest, which coincidentally has also poured billions of dollars in personal wealth into his family. If that isn't corruption, I don't know what is.
Oh! Get him, Glenn!
And all of you thought that what Hunter Biden did, which was on a much, much smaller scale, you all thought that was corruption. I did too, because I'm actually consistent. I don't change my principles based on which party is in office. It's the same exact transaction, only as Andy McCarthy said, the longtime conservative prosecutor, in order to compare Trump's kids and Biden's kids, you have to add 2 zeros to what Trump's kids are doing.
From crypto funds to Jared Kushner's personal enrichment, his investment fund, to the dozens upon dozens of lucrative government contracts and investments in drone companies and the like, Glenn just brings the heat on this entire episode. Good job, Glenn. To be a man of principle, you must be loyal to those principles, or you can be loyal to a public servant, but you can't be both.
That's right, Bobby Sauce. Glenn Greenwald nailed it. Bobby Sauce nailed it. And you need to follow him on Twitter. Let's watch some more Bobby Sauce. I like this one too, and then we'll go to break. It's not really completely related, but it was really good and I saw it today. So I'm going to have to start playing Bobby Sauce every day on the show because I just think he's hilarious and he's funny, he's witty, he gets it, but he's also really principled. He's a layered and a pragmatic thinker, and I just really love his stuff. So make sure you're following Bobby Sauce on the Twit. Here's another one before we go to break.
Remember when they told us Thomas Massey lost his primary because he wasn't supporting and of course, we were reassured of this by the likes of Dinesh Dasagi. Take it away, Dinesh.
Let's start with the idea that the Israel lobby opposed Massey, and that's why he lost. Well, the fault in this reasoning is that the Israel lobby they have long opposed Thomas Massey.
No, is that the fault in the logic, Dinesh? So what was different this time? Were people just more mad? If they long opposed him and he won landslide victories year after year for a decade, what was different this time, Dinesh?
So why did Massey lose now, while previously he had no problem defeating the Israel lobby?
Great question, Dinesh. Why don't you tell us?
Massey won his early elections with huge margins, 70%, 75%. Well, this time he lost by double digits. So what changed?
Yes, what changed?
You might say Trump came down hard against him, but Massey has been running somewhat independently of Trump even before. Trump's opposition in the past didn't take him down.
That's so interesting that you're saying that it wasn't Trump either. So what was it today? What was it?
What took Massey down this time? There's really only one answer to this question.
There's only one answer. Now we're getting somewhere. Take it away, Dinesh.
his voters. His voters took him down. His voters are the ones who get to decide every 2 years.
Oh, why didn't I think of that? It was the voters, of course. Brother Dinesh, wouldn't it be funny if I had a literal video that went exactly against what you just said and completely answered the question that there's only one answer to? What if I had that video, Dinesh?
Over the past few months, the RJC spent more than $5 million to defeat Thomas Massie.
Did he mispronounce the voters?
When someone repeatedly undermines support for Israel, traffics in isolationism at a moment of global danger, and refuses to stand with the Jewish state when it matters most, there has to be consequences.
Isn't it crazy just hearing them say it? Isn't it just crazy hearing them say it out of their own boca? Out of the mouth.
This is why Massie lost, because he no longer commanded the support of his own constituency.
That's cool, Dinesh. Did that guy say anything about the voters of Kentucky? Did he say anything about Kentucky? Better yet, did he say anything about America, Dinesh? Nah, he said we spent 5 M's because of his non-support of another nation, Dinesh. And that's just one group, not even taking into account the other groups of the same faction that did it for the same reason. Don't you just love getting lectured by these smarmy pseudo-intellectual types about things that you can see with your own 2 eyes? Sick video, Dinesh. I want my money back for 2,000 mules.
Yeah, he does. He wants his money back for 2,000 mules. And a great comment, CIA torture camp. Funny hearing the 2,000 mules guy tell us it was all the voters. That was Bobby Sauce, a good friend of the Shannon Joy Show, one of the influencers and content creators that I joined in the great state of Kentucky. We traveled down to stand with Thomas Massie and help push him over the finish line. We weren't able to achieve it, but we did achieve something incredible. And that was the beginning of independent media, independent content creation. And Bobby Sauce is fantastic. So make sure that you're watching him, following him on Twitter. And I'm definitely going to have him on the show. But yeah, I mean, Dinesh D'Souza, well, I see this on the live chat. He was involved with Salem Media, backed by the Israel lobby. Yeah, we know that. I believe it's one of the CEOs of Salem Media is a registered foreign agent. So they are for Israel. I think something along the lines of that. So there's a whole host of conservatives. They're just taking the money. Dinesh, it's pretty sad, but these guys are just they're Muppets and puppets for billionaire backers and foreign interests, and a lot of them Israel. So when we come back, we're going to talk about Israel. Speaking of those in the media who are maybe taking money from foreign interests to promote and push the interests of Israel, I have videos for you of Mike Huckabee at a commencement address where he proudly states that he is a proud Zionist. And the only reason that people could possibly oppose the government of Israel would be because they hate God. That's according to Mike Huckabee. We also have a clip for you when we come back of Michelle Bachmann channeling her inner Jim Jones, I kid you not, on a Christian television station, saying that God will reward Donald Trump for waging Israel's war against Iran by delivering to him the midterm elections if he just continues to wage that war. Insane, and a complete bastardization of the Bible, of scripture, and basic tenets of Christianity. Yet these two, Mike Huckabee pretends to be a minister, and Michelle Bachmann on Christian TV, absolutely mangle and mutilate scripture to justify their support of this country, Israel, that is engaging in what many claim to be a genocide in the region, among other things. Let's not forget the genocide that Israel committed against its own people when it sold them, when Bibi Netanyahu sold his population to Pfizer in the contract, knowing that they were going to be human subjects, human experiments. and mass injecting nearly 99% of the population, babies included, with COVID shots. Remember when that happened, right? So unbelievable. We're going to tackle this when we come back, because I'm getting sick of so-called Christians mangling my faith, mangling the Bible, misrepresenting scripture, and selling this false idea that as a Christian, you have to be subservient to Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, and Jewish citizens, right? There's nothing biblical about that. And we're going to hit that when we come back, because honestly, it's beginning to drive me crazy. All right, so keep it tuned right here. We will be back in a minute to continue this discussion right here on the Shannon Joy Show. When you are shopping at the wellness company, make sure that you use the JOY promo code. It's going to get you lots of goodies, free shipping, a percentage off of your order every single time, whether it's an emergency kit or ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, whether it's a second opinion. So many people are benefiting from the telehealth that is provided at the wellness company. If you don't trust the opinion of your doctor, if you want a second opinion, if you don't trust a diagnosis, this is a way for you to go out, take control of your own health. You can get your own second opinion at the wellness company. The emergency medical kits are absolutely amazing. The contagion kit, every American needs an emergency medical kit in their home. It is an amazing source of peace of mind. You will have the life-saving prescriptions that you need, antibiotics, things like ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. Sometimes in an emergency situation, certain medications are hard to get on purpose. You don't have to worry about that when you are prepared with that emergency kit. In fact, one of the listeners of the Shannon Joy Show mentioned that she purchased her emergency care kit about 8 months ago and has already used it 3 times. How amazing is that? Sometimes you just need access to that prescription. You don't have time to get to the doctor. It's such an easy process. You go to twc.health/joy. That's twc.health/joy. And you sign up. You have a consultation with one of the wellness company doctors. They work out all of your prescriptions, get them ready for you. You assemble the kit, and it is in your home on your doorstep about a week and a half later. It is such an easy process. And with the Joy promo code, you're going to get $60 off your emergency kit. It is worth every penny. People absolutely love it. And you'll get $60 off plus free shipping when you go to twc.health/joy. That's twc.health/joy, and absolutely use that JOY promo code because it's a huge discount. It's at 123.com/joy. Everything that you're going to need for preparation: generators, solar panels, Faraday products. If you want to disappear and protect yourself from the surveillance state, they have an entire line of amazing Faraday products called dark bags. They're always 10% off at the satellite phone store if you go to sat123.com/joy. That is sat123.com/joy. The satellite phone store has supported the Shannon Joy Show for many years. They are amazing partners, and let's help the companies that help keep the lights on here at the Shannon Joy Show. So if you are in the market for any of their products or services, make sure you use that promo code JOY and go to sat123.com/joy. That's sat123.com/joy. Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show. If you're watching right now, we're live on Rumble, live on Twitter, Spreely TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, every podcast platform you can imagine. And if you're watching on YouTube or Substack or Twitter, please like and share and comment, like, share, comment. In the next break, I'm going to take a look at the YouTube commenters. Or commentators. I see that there are a bunch of you on the live chat there. If you're on Rumble right now, thumbs up, follow the Shannon Joy Show. This helps us grow, and it helps to juice that algorithm. We don't ever have algorithmic preference on any of these platforms because, well, this show is independent. And in order to get a big platform in the United States of America, you have to be either left or right or part of the approved new movement. So right now it would be JD Vance and Nick Fuentes and Candace Owen and the fake America First crowd, right? So there are pathways to a large audience and a big platform, and we just don't have access to that because, well, I'm independent and I tell you the truth every day. So we've been able to grow, and survive and thrive for 13 years here on the Shannon and Joy Show because of all of you, your support, your donations, and your promotion, helping push this show out to all of your friends and family. So for those of you who helped to promote the Shannon and Joy Show, thank you so much. I appreciate all of you. So we're going to go here today now because I'm getting a little sick of this. I'm getting sick of profits on Rumble reaching hundreds of thousands of people every day, and fake preachers like Mike Huckabee and Christians like Michelle Bachmann. I'm getting sick and tired of them twisting scripture, twisting Christianity, and frankly, committing heresy in order to prop up and defend Israel, the country, Bibi Netanyahu, and the government of Israel and everything that they're doing in the Middle East, right? And basically banging every Christian over the head saying, you know, you're not a good Christian and you hate God if you don't support Israel and if you don't support sending them billions upon billions of dollars to do their bidding and wage their wars in the Middle East. If we don't submit to Bibi Netanyahu and become Israel first instead of America first, well, then somehow you're an anti-Semite, you hate Jews, and you hate God. All right. And that's what Mike Huckabee had to say. I'm going to run these clips and then we're going to talk about this because right now, Israel first, AIPAC, this narrative that has been pushed particularly to Christians and evangelical churches for the past 20 years. And I know because I've been in evangelical churches, organizations like CUFI, which is Christians United for Israel. This has been a major, major propaganda effort to distort the scripture in order to make Christians feel like they need to be supportive for whatever reason, right? Regardless of anything Israel does, regardless of the wars that they start, regardless of what they do to their own people, we just have to support them blindly because that's what good Christians do. It is so false. It is false teaching. It is not biblical in any way, shape, or form. And we're going to talk about that a little bit in this segment as more and more Americans wake up and realize that opposing the Israel First agenda is not anti-Semitic or anti-Jew. Okay. And they're also, what is really heartening and makes me hopeful, they're also simultaneously rejecting the radicalized anti-Jew, hate-mongering, villain-casting honeypots, right? People like Nick Fuentes and the people who follow him, right? So on one side, you have Mike Huckabee, Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, Michelle Bachmann, Donald Trump, MAGA. They're all victim casting Israel and the Jews, saying that they can do no wrong. They're perpetual victims. We should be subservient to them. We should hand over billions of dollars. We should fight their wars, right? That's what they're trying to pitch to us. It's a lie. But then on the other side, we have the villain casting. Again, the anti-Jew hate mongering, villain casting honeypot. So this is to anyone who wakes up and says, well, I don't agree with that. We shouldn't give billions of dollars to Israel. We should be America first. I don't want to wage endless wars. We don't want war in America. We know that it's just a way for billionaires to make a ton of money. And we don't want to subject our men and women and our children to these endless wars. Right? So anyone who's reasonable in that way then gets sucked into the Nick Fuentes people and they get radicalized. And so this is Fuentes and Lucas Gage and Sam Parker, the Groypers, the groups of white nationalist supremacists, like they will bring those people in, radicalize them, or completely ruin them, right? So neither of those, again, a Hegelian dialectic, two false choices, right? One on the Israel and the Jews as victims, false choice, and the other at Israel and the Jews as villains, like the only villains. There are no other bad people out there but the Jews. Like that's false too. And so both of these false narratives are heavily funded and they're trying to drag you out. But what's happening is that more and more Americans are rejecting both. And that is fabulous. It's great news. But It does bring, it begins when that happens, you begin to see the mask coming down. And this is what we saw from Mike Huckabee. And we're going to talk about the complete bastardization. We're going to get biblical. All right. Not because I'm a preacher. I am not a theologian. I'm not an expert in all of this, but I have been a Christian for 45 years. And I've read my Bible through 3 or 4 times, multiple versions, the King James Version, the English Standard Version, the NIV version, the Children's Version. I've done it like cover to cover, the book of Genesis to the book of Revelation. Okay. So I know when there's a charlatan out there and there's a false prophet or a false teacher lying about the Bible to justify a political agenda, which is what Mike Huckabee is doing on behalf of the Israeli Zionists. Okay. Which is a political agenda. By the way, it was founded by an atheist. Okay, so these people are not even religious people. A lot of them are atheists and agnostics. But Mike Huckabee has the nerve to stand up at a commencement address and accuse Christians of hating God if they don't get behind this political agenda, which is insane. It's absolutely insane. So this is what Mike Huckabee said. We're going to talk about it in a minute. Here we go. Hold on. Where is it? Did I download it? I think I did. I hope I did. There it is. Okay, here we go.
I want you to know I'm not a Zionist because I'm Jewish. I'm a Zionist and an unapologetic one because I believe the Bible. And because I recognize that Jews around the world, representing only 0.2% of the world's population, have created outsized impact on the world. And unfortunately, there are people who hate you for that. But I've determined that they really, more than they hate you, they hate the God who chose you 3,800 years ago as his people and gave you a place called Israel and gave you a purpose which was to present the law and the light to all the world. You being faithful to that task is not simply something that you should do. It is something that you must do. For there's no one else to whom the Creator of the universe has given such a mission.
All right, so that was Mike Huckabee saying he is an unapologetic Zionist because I believe in the Bible. Now, bringing the Bible into this in Scripture, saying that the Jews have had an outsized impact on the world, which is not necessarily untrue, but they've had impact for good and evil, right? It hasn't been all good. The impact of certain Jewish characters and even kings, throughout the Old Testament, there were Jews who did good things and Jews who did bad things. But that's not what he's casting here. But the worst of all of the lies that he told was that if you don't support Jews unconditionally for any reason, right? There are no conditions here. We can't be concerned about a potential genocide, about what happened in Gaza. We can't be concerned about what the Israeli government did to their own people when they locked them down and turned the entire nation of their people into test subjects for pharmaceutical corporations, for Pfizer. We can't judge that. Bibi Netanyahu has like a framed needle in his office, worshiping the mRNA shots. It's crazy. Okay. And so this idea that we hate God if we critique the Israeli government or the Zionist political ideology is completely and absolutely false. It is heretical. It's blasphemous. And he should be ashamed of himself. Honestly, he casts himself as a preacher and an authority on the Bible. And I can tell you, there is nowhere, again, I'll give you my bona fides. I'm not a theologian. I'm not a pastor. I'm just a 45-year Jesus Christ believing Christian, okay? And a girl who's read her Bible through from the book of Genesis to the book of Revelation about 4 times. And I can tell you, there is multiple versions, okay? There's nowhere in the Bible, nowhere, Old Testament or New, where God gives the nation of Israel or the Jewish population a blank check to embark on all sorts of wickedness, idolatry, and frankly, demonic activities. In fact, in the Old Testament and the New Testament, there were multiple examples of people who were of Jews committing all sorts of atrocities and doing really bad things. The Jews were always in trouble, by the way, with God from the very beginning. If you go back to the book of Genesis, he smote them, right, over the golden calf in Exodus 32. He sent plagues upon them when they committed idolatry and forgot him, like a dozen or more times throughout the Old Testament. He opened the earth up underneath them. That was Korah's rebellion. That was Numbers 16. He sent fiery serpents to consume them. That was Numbers 21. And that was just because they complained about the food. Okay. He committed them to 40 years of wandering in the wilderness, not letting them into the promised land because of their disobedience, because of their idolatry, because they turned their back on him. He enslaved them under the Babylonians for over 70 years because of their disobedience, their idolatry, and wicked, wicked acts. They served foreign gods in high places. They sacrificed their own children. And it's not just the Jews. Listen, people in general, humans, whether they're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, black, white, male, female, they do good things and they do bad things. When you pigeonhole them into something like this, then, or you cast with a wide net or a blanket, their virtue or their vice, then you're doing a disservice. It's insane. And this was all in cycles. I mean, this happened over and over and over. If you go through some of the books of the Old Testament, it's like there were 5 or 6 or 7 really bad kings that didn't love the Lord, that didn't trust God, they were disobedient, and they worshiped false idols in high places. For every 5 or 6 or 7 bad kings, there was one good king when you go through the Bible. And then you go through 5 or 6 or 7 again, and then another good king, right? So this idea that we should just give a blanket pardon, that there is no critique whatsoever of the nation of Israel or the political ideology that is Zionism or the Jews themselves. They can't even agree on what it means to be a Jew, to be honest. I mean, you can sit down with a person and there's a discussion and a debate about whether they are religious Jews or racial Jews, or they go back like thousands of years of genealogy to see if they're real. Like, it's insane. Okay. So there's not even an accepted definition of what it means to be a Jew. So this is just insane. It's absolutely insane. But it's all in cycles, right? God delivers them, then they have prosperity. And again, this is not just the Jews. It's Christians, Muslims, agnostics, atheists, any type of religion. I mean, there's no one good grouping of people. There are people who do good things and bad things. And that applies to the nation of Israel too, in the Israeli government and Bibi Netanyahu and those who practice Zionism. Okay? Deliverance, prosperity, wickedness, indulgence, apathy, idolatry, then destruction, then oppression by their enemies. And many times, by the way, the nation of Israel was punished by God, according to the Bible in the Old Testament, by pagans and non-believers. So he would subject them. This is what happened with the 70 years in captivity in Babylon. So enough of this. In the New Testament, Jesus Christ condemned the Jewish leaders, the Jewish religious leaders of his time. Jesus Christ was a Jew. He was a practicing Jew. He came not to abolish the law, but to fulfill it. He never renounced his own Jewish faith, but he critiqued the Pharisees and the Sadducees, who were the 2 religious orders of the time. You could liken them to the Republican and Democratic parties. They were 2 factions that were completely corrupted. In fact, they were so corrupt that Jesus Christ called them a brood of vipers and condemned some of them to the fiery pits of hell. That was after he turned over the tables of the money changers in the temple, right? Because they were cheating, they were stealing, they were mangling the word of God and using their authority as pastors and priests to line their own pockets and lead the sheep astray. And that is why Jesus Christ called them out and was angry with them. He wasn't rejecting Judaism. He wasn't rejecting his Jewish faith. He was calling out their corruption. A Jew calling out the Jews. Okay? And they killed him for it. Right? So this is just, I mean, I'm over it. I'm over it. We can take this away. Galatians 3:26. And this is why Jesus was, this is why he died on the cross, was to reconcile all of us through him, through God, so that everyone could be in a relationship with God. And this is Galatians 3:26. And then we'll end here. We'll go to break. And then I want to hear from you about what you think about what I just said. I'm probably going to get in trouble for this. But anyway, Galatians 3:26. This is the truth. So in Christ Jesus, you are all children of God through faith. For all of you who were baptized into Christ have clothed yourselves in Christ. There is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male or female, for you are all one in Jesus Christ. If you belong to Christ, then you are Abraham's seed and heirs according to his promise. That is Galatians 3:26. And so Mike Huckabee, no thank you. No thank you. All right, we're going to go to break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at Michelle Bachmann, what she had to say, channeling the Jim Jones, unbelievable. But I want to hear from you. I want to get your comments when we come back right here on the Shannon Joy Show.
This is Jennifer with darkbags.com. I wanted to show you one of our newest products from Escape Zone. This is our satellite Faraday sleeve. So it actually will fit your satellite phone, which we've noticed that there wasn't any product on the market that perfectly fit them. So we decided to make them ourselves. And it has this Velcro closure right here to close it up. And that makes this dust and water resistant. So what's nice about this Faraday pouch is that it'll protect against any EMPs. So your device is, your emergency device actually will always be protected in here as long as it stays in here. You can take it out for, everyday use, but if you're not using it, we recommend that you store it in here. Again, this is available on darkbags.com.
All right, make sure that every time you shop at the satellite phone store, sat123.com/joy, joy, that is sat123.com/joy, you are using the JOY promo code. That is going to get you at least 10% off your entire order. And if you're looking at products like generators or solar panels, if you're looking at a satellite phone and you're going to get a satellite phone subscription, those could be upwards over thousands of dollars. So that 10% discount is going to be huge. But they do have the entire line of Faraday products, the dark bags. So these are amazing. The Faraday technology not only protects you from harmful EMF radiation, but it also protects your phone from an EMP attack or any type of breakdown. So great products. The Faraday collection also shields you, protects you from the prying eyes of the federal government or the big tech bros. That's right. When you drop your phone or your device into a satellite phone store Faraday bag or backpack, you're off the grid. You are untraceable. They can't find you. And it gives you that added element of privacy while also protecting you from those harmful EMF radiation rays. So just really great technology, the best out there, and at the best prices when you use that JOY promo code. So sat123.com/joy. That is sat123.com/joy. All right, guys, let's take a look at what Michelle Bachmann had to say. This was insane as well. And my question here is, why does she look like Jim Jones? Like the outfit, the whole thing, but this is what Michelle Bachmann had to say about Israel and waging their wars, from here in the United States of America. Take a look.
I'm really concerned, though, too, that there will be distractions because there is a very important issue in front of us. We've never had a clearer path to defeat Iran. And so I'm worried that the midterms concerns and also elections concerns in Israel, that both leaders will be distracted. I think that would be a tragic mistake for historical purposes. I think we need to stay on task right now, because I truly believe that if President Trump takes care of this evil now, I think God will deliver the midterms as well. I think that will happen. I think the same for the elections in Israel. I believe these men were appointed for this task, destined for this task. They're the only two leaders I can think of who would work together to defeat Iran. Can you think of any other political leader that would do this? And especially Israel and America. This is historic. This is a biblical moment, and that's why we need to pray into this for the strength for both men not to be distracted, to stay on task and get the job done. I believe it will happen, and I believe that God will take care of all the other considerations that might be distracting.
I only ran that because with her outfit, I can't get over it. I can't get over the glasses, the shirt, the Jim Jones vibes. This is how you know it's a cult. But according to Michelle Bachmann, God will deliver Trump the midterms if he continues to send billions of dollars to the government of Israel to wage wars in the Middle East. And these guys, they are ignoring the grift of the Trump family. They're ignoring the medical fascism. They're ignoring the tech fascism. They're not saying, they have nothing to say about transhumanism and technofascism and the most destructive, like, demonic ideology that of technofascism, which is quite frightening. Like, they just don't care. They don't care. It's and the only thing that I can imagine is that they're being paid to do this. That there's some type of money funnel with all of this. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts here? Should I even ask? Honestly, I don't usually wade into this because it is loaded with landmines. But I did need to get that off my chest, because there's so many falsehoods coming from both sides of this issue. And I'm very concerned. Though I am critical of people, I'm obviously critical of the ideology, the political ideology of Zionism, and this is basically world domination by this subset of people who call themselves Zionists. I don't even know if they are really practicing the Jewish faith. There's a lot, out there on that, but even though I am opposed to the expansion of that political ideology because it's bad, I also am not going down this rabbit hole of blaming Israel and blaming the Jews for everything. Just not doing it. So, yeah, Hey, CJP Rumble, I see you. CIA torture camp, great to see you. Strident Conservative has this to say, Bachmann is all cult all the time. She once said that Trump is the most godly president ever. Like, that's just insane. Trump even admits that he's not a Christian. Like, he's very blatant. Trump is like, I'm going to hell. Trump is on the record saying, I'm going to hell. He's on the record as saying that he's not a Christian. So I don't even know. KC1212, Shannon, you are 100% correct about this. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Appreciate you. Mama C 1996, Zionism isn't religious, it's political. I agree with you on that. And LT Oracle of Truth says this, I will never be apologetic for being a Christian. And same here, but that doesn't mean you have to be hostile or actively hostile to people of Jewish faith, people who practice Judaism. We can all coexist here on this planet, or we should be able to. Garth Hilton, Christians should not be Zionists or Americanists. Christians need to just act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Absolutely agree with all of you. And that scripture from Galatians, I think, is the one that is the most, that cuts through the most, at least for me. And usually I don't go this deep in on religious topics. The Shannon Joy Show is not a religious show, and it's not a Christian show, although I am a Bible-believing, born-again Christian who loves Jesus Christ. And you all know that. I wear it on my sleeve. It's not something that I feature as part of the show because, frankly, I see how others manipulate it and misuse it. And I have a profound fear of God. Like, I don't want to mess this up, and I don't want to lead people down a wrong path. So I don't feel comfortable doing that with the show. But every so often, if I know, just because I've read the Bible so many times, like I know a charlatan when I see a charlatan. And Michelle Bachmann with her Jim Jones outfit and her shades on, spewing complete insanity, okay? And Mike Huckabee saying that if you oppose Israel, you hate God. Like that's where I draw a line. That's where I'm just going to make a statement and just be done. I did not know that Steve Deace described himself as a Zionist. That's interesting. I'm not surprised. There's a very heavy propaganda operation designed to draw Christians in, especially young Christians. And Steve Deace is a younger Christian than I am. I mean, he came to the faith, I think, late in life, and it's great, but they're very susceptible to this type of political propaganda. And it is sophisticated, it is layered, and it involves completely manipulating and bastardizing scripture in the Bible. And I'm really not okay with it. Trust the Secret Squirrel Plan. Great to see you on the live chat. Ali Robin 9, great to see you on the live chat as well. So let's talk about we have about 5 more minutes. We'll go to 1:40 today. We'll go 10 minutes long. I want to talk about, as we close out the Shannon Joy Show, thank you all for watching today and being with us today. For those of you on YouTube and Substack and Twitter and Facebook, I appreciate all of you. And of course, the most amazing live chat ever right here on Rumble. Thank you guys for being with us today on the show. I do want to talk about this big news out of Iowa, which is the headline of today's show. And I don't want to finish the show without getting to this. So we're going to pivot and we're going to hit another topic as we move forward. This primary season, as you guys know, has been really interesting. Donald Trump asserting himself as the king of the GOP and flexing during the primaries, getting behind with endorsements, the worst of the worst of the worst in terms of swamp creatures and rhinos. So Donald Trump has decided that he decides what MAGA means. He decides what the GOP will be, even if it means destroying the GOP itself. And this has been a highly controversial primary season as Republicans across the nation in all 50 states come out and vote for who is going to represent them as a Republican in the upcoming midterm elections of 2026. And we saw what happened in Kentucky, Donald Trump putting millions upon millions behind the defeat, behind entities that sought to defeat Thomas Massie. He succeeded. Donald Trump withdrew his support from Chip Roy in Texas, would not give him an endorsement that impacted Roy. He lost his seat or his candidacy in the state of Texas. And again, Trump continues to get behind the Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, Mike Johnson, rhino Republicans that are, not fiscal conservatives. They are not, America First or medical freedom or MAHA. I mean, these are swamp creatures. And so Donald Trump has gotten behind all of them and he's been winning. Well, that is until yesterday. Now, there's this big news out of Iowa. Zach Lahn, who is an outsider candidate, MAHA candidate, won in a shocker in the state of Iowa. And last night, the Trump-endorsed rhino was defeated by an unknown rookie, Zach Lahn. He's a 6th-generation farmer, a businessman. He was MAHA-backed. He was anti-data center, Americans first, but even more than Americans first, he was Iowa first, the people of Iowa first. He was also Daniel Horowitz endorsed. He was a grassroots candidate, and this was a huge, huge victory for anti-establishment, independent grassroots candidates. And so Zach Lahn, there was a crowded field He went up against Randy Feenstra, who was the Rhino establishment candidate. And then there was another candidate, Adam Steen. Interestingly enough, that Steve Deace got behind, but then pulled his endorsement from Adam Steen at the last minute after Trump came in at the last minute last Friday and endorsed Randy Feenstra, who was the Rhino. So this was unusual for Donald Trump. Usually he does not get behind a candidate unless like they're a sure thing. But they really wanted to keep Zach Lahn out when they realized that Zach Lahn was running a very viable campaign. Again, this guy is the biggest outsider there. I mean, not even he wasn't even the conservative or the Republican. He was running really as an independent. And so Trump came in, he endorsed his opponent, and his endorsement didn't work. Zach Lahn came out and won that primary, 37.8 of the vote to 37. So it was super, super close. So this is really great news. There are a lot of takeaways from this, and I want to shout out Daniel Horowitz, who has been reporting on this and doing a lot. Also, Garth, I see you on the live chat as well. This is a bellwether, I think, in a lot of ways. Now, I mentioned, Donald Trump is flexing in terms of the closed GOP primaries that are happening right now. It seems like, he's a lot bigger than he is, but he's really swimming in a very tiny little pond. And he's alienating the entire 65 under age demographic of the Republican Party. Because as we saw in the Massey election, it was, heavily 65 plus that turned out for the Trump aligned candidate. So Trump's lock grip on this movement is shaky at best. He has a lock grip on the GOP, but the movement now that is coming out of the GOP, he can't control. And I don't think anyone can control right now. So there are some takeaways from this that I just want to go over. First and foremost, Trump is defeatable, right? His wins as of today are Pyrrhic. They're very narrow, they're fleeting, and they're representative of the old dead GOP. Mark Levin, Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, Mike Johnson, Fox News, AM radio. It is solidly 65, 70, 75 plus. He's completely alienating the entire future of the party. And that's why the GOP might go the way of the Whigs after Trump is through with them. And I can see that happening. Again, as I mentioned, there's lots of flexing now. You have all of his paid influencers and paid supporters, people like Benny Johnson, coming out and gloating and flexing that he's the king, hail the king, he owns everything. It's a tiny subset of a dying party that Donald Trump has now claimed ownership over and control over, okay? Because the midterms are coming, and if he doesn't cancel them, everyone knows it's going to be a massive bloodbath. That all of these candidates that Trump is picking are going to go down in flames because of his policies, because of his pro-war, pro-debt spending, pro-Israel first, America last, anti-medical freedom, pro-data center, all of these things. The fact that, he's pro-pedophile, all of these platforms, he is further alienating more and more Americans and creating this new market. It's a new market. They're not sticky. They're not Democrats. But I think that Zach Lahn, when you look at his platform, is representing where we need to go in the future. I think the GOP versus conservative construct is crumbling. And we saw that in Iowa. There was the GOP Rhino candidate who was Feenstra. And then we had the conservative candidate that was Adam Steen. And neither of them got any traction. It was this kind of outsider. It was outside of that construct that came in and made an impact. And I love that it was Iowa first. It wasn't America first, which I think is a psyop. It was Iowans first. It was localism, representative of the 10th Amendment, of federalism, replacing even MAHA. It wasn't about MAHA, which is a national kind of movement. It wasn't America First, which was a national kind of movement. It was about Iowans. It was about local control. It was about federalism. And his platform was just phenomenal. It was also about data centers. I think that's the other big takeaway. Zach Lahn was explicit on data centers and resistance to the rising techno-fascism, resistance to digital control, resistance to the surveillance state. This is going to be, I believe, a defining issue for the next 5 to 10 years. And Zach Lahn nailed it with his platform. Americans don't want the data centers. And this is crossing boundaries. It's crossing Republican, it's connecting Republicans and Democrats. And it's one of those issues that I think can drive elections for the next 5 to 10 years. And the Democrats are getting this wrong. Republicans are certainly getting this wrong. MAGA is getting this wrong. And they don't understand the uprising that is coming. And so, you know, just in terms of Zach Lahn's platform, it was really just common sense, nonpartisan, and it was a platform for the future. He focused on Iowans first, federalism, bottom up. And he prioritized local families, family farms, long-term state health over corporate interests, out-of-state investors, and national politics. And I mean, he just has a ton of great ideas. We'll go over them tomorrow. But he was very outspoken, incredibly outspoken about the data centers and standing up against those data centers and freeing the people of Iowa from that juggernaut. And so I think that's what tipped him over the edge. And we told you here first. I mean, we've been talking about the data centers here in the SJ Show for quite a long time. So we'll continue this analysis. And I linked you guys to the piece in the Des Moines Register. It's in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. And we'll continue this discussion tomorrow. But huge victory. Let's take that away from today's show, that bottom-up organization, continuing to run candidates, understanding that the organization is more important sometimes even than the outcome. These are the things that are going to break through the two-party, uniparty system. They're going to break through the corporate fascism that we're seeing in Washington, D.C. They're going to break through the infrastructure, the establishment infrastructure that has been just absolutely fleecing and abusing Americans for so many decades, that two-party political system. What we saw in Iowa is an example of that, and I think we want to see more of it. All right, guys, thank you so much for being with us today on the Shannon Joy Show. I appreciate all of you. I hope you have a great day. Make sure you keep it tuned here. We're going to be back tomorrow to continue this discussion on the Shannon Joy Show. So have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll see you tomorrow.